All right, so for these, so we got a lot of moving parts for this exercise. Basically, the way we're gonna program this, we're training primarily the transverse abdominis. So with this, we wanna have a good degree of like pelvis and rib cage separation. You can bend your knees as much as you like. So the main way we wanna approach this, we wanna keep our pelvis kind of pointed straight ahead. And we wanna set this up so we get like a good angle of like separating the ribs from the pelvis going this way, and then again going this way. So it's here, here. And then we're just gonna do this in terms of whatever the tempo in the exercise says. I usually go a little bit faster, especially with core exercises, because going slow into core exercises, there's just a lot of bracing going on, and it makes it hard to breathe. And a lot of people, if you have cardiovascular issues, you can get high blood pressure, stuff like that. Same reason I don't like to do like really, sometimes with some exercise, I'll program like really heavy, like long duration isometrics, but I won't do it with like deadlifts, just because like deadlifts, like GHD sit-ups, back extensions, a lot of stuff that requires a lot of core bracing, and you're like under a lot of maximal loading with heavy weights, your blood pressure just goes through the roof, and just not great for you. So usually with this kind of stuff, I usually go a little bit faster on the tempos. So anyways, we're here. We just want to make sure, for the purposes of the program, we have good rib and pelvis separation. And really the main reason for that is we want the spine to actually move. Now, for a lot of athletes and stuff, and for general development, we want to maximize that range of motion, because we already have a lot of other exercises for training the hips through rotation, the transverse plane, the frontal plane. We already have exercises for that, so we don't really need to like beat it to death with this rotational exercise. Now, for a lot of other athletes, especially like athletes in throwing sports, for example, or even like MMA, stuff like that, where you're really, you don't have as much range of motion technically, but you have a lot of kind of range of motion coming through everything. So if you're in that population and you want to tailor the exercise more towards like global rotation, like it involves the whole body and it's not just purely isolated around the spine, well then you can throw your hips into it a little bit more. So you're gonna have some separation of the ribs and the pelvis, but you're still gonna allow the hips to kind of turn with you a lot. So it's gonna be hips here, hips forward, hips here. And you're trying to get a lot more power out of the hips if you're gonna use it in that context. And for the most part, you have a lot of, your pelvis and your rib cage will generally track together, and you'll have like a little bit of extra out of the ribs, but not as much. Yeah, so that's like your main cable rotation. You can put the angle on that too. Like you can, especially if you want to put more pressure on the hips, you can kind of go up with it a little bit and angle it up this way. If you want to, train kind of like the oblique abs, you can kind of go down with it this way. So there's a couple variations that you can play with there as well.